Welcome, beloved. This is the day our God has made, and I'm rejoicing and glad in it. Grace and peace be with you. I am Dwayne Davis, lead minister of Plymouth Congregational Church, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our worship celebration. While we are unable to gather together in this place, wherever you are and whenever you are viewing this service, we are blessed by your prayers and presence and hope that you feel the love and light of this service in your own light. So we invite you to center yourselves and prepare yourselves for the movement of a spirit of love and blessing in the music, the songs, the prayers, and the proclamation. We know that you will be blessed by it. But before we get to our service, there are a few announcements I'd like to share with you so that you can know what's going on in the life of Plymouth Church. We often gather together in small groups. We are inviting you to participate however you feel led and however you feel comfortable in the various offerings of the church. And if you don't see something that you're looking for, let us know so that we can try to bring to you that which will make you happy and fulfilled in your life and ministry. We also want to thank you for your support of the mission and ministry of Plymouth Church, your generosity and faithfulness, even when we can't gather in person, has been remarkably inspirational. And so we thank you for all the ways that you support this work. And if you want to continue, we invite you to do so. You can find the information right here on the screen. You can go through our website, plymouth.org, and there's a direct link, plymouth.org/give, or you can text to give to set up your account to send us your donation at 612-999-2874. Again, that number to set up to give to us through text is 612-999-2874. I also want to let you know about Open Door Conversations with Clergy, which happens every Wednesday at 10 a.m. There's no registration required. You can just pop in as you feel led. It is a chance to sit down with clergy and talk, conversation, connection. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll share some of our thoughts with you, some time of devotion. Oh, last week we had a beautiful time as we gathered for the conversation. So we just invite you to join it. We look forward to seeing you. It's just a great moment of community and connection. Every Sunday, we have our Sunday Forum, and we want to invite you to our Sunday Forum next Sunday, February 21st at 9:30 a.m., where our guest will be Reverend Dr. Curtis DeYoung, the Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Council of Churches. He will be telling us about their special project, Truth Telling and Reparations, the Hope for Reconciliation. The Minnesota Council of Churches has launched this initiative. It is a year-long initiative of truth-telling, education, and reparations for the next 10 years. This is an opportunity for Plymouth Church to find out about this vision and how our work can fit with the Minnesota Council of Churches. I invite you to join us for that important conversation with Reverend Dr. Curtis DeYoung. On Wednesday, February 17th, Ash Wednesday, which is the launch of the Lenten season, we invite you to look for our Ash Wednesday service. Stay tuned for more information, but do know that we are preparing ourselves for the season of Lent, and we'll start it off with Ash Wednesday, next Wednesday at February 17th. We look forward to you joining us for that. As for Lent, we have Lenten meditations that are being warmly offered by Plymouth's Spiritual Exploration Committee. Plymouth members have been generous to share their reflections for the season of the Lent, and this whole collection is available to you to connect us as a whole community of faith. Go to our website to sign up for those Lenten meditations. You will be blessed. I know that you will. It'll be a great opportunity for our journey through the season of Lent. And finally, I want to invite you to look for This I Believe, Racial Justice is Personal. That project was launched last week by Plymouth's Racial Justice Initiative. It is an opportunity to hear from our own members their personal stories that would inspire reflection and action, humility and vulnerability in our work for racial justice. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to hear powerful testimonies of work and transformation to pursue the work of racial justice. I hope you will look in on that and share your thoughts with those who shared with us. We are so grateful for our lay reader today, Carrie Bassett. And as our worship continues, we're joined by Nina Johnson and our time with the children.
Good morning. Obviously, it's Valentine's Day, but also a couple quick reminders. It's the middle of Black History Month. If you haven't taken time to begin on your journey of educating yourself about Black history beyond Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman, there's a lot out there. It's important. We cannot become better people unless we know where we came from. Black history is part of all of our history. And so if you haven't started your history journey, you've got 2 weeks in this month and the rest of your lives. Take time, make sure you are educated and informed. It's also a few days before the start of Lent. Lent is always that sort of dark, anticipatory waiting time where we're waiting for the rebirth that comes after the stone is rolled away and the tomb is empty. It's what we celebrate on Easter Sunday. And like I said, it's also Valentine's Day. So in the life of the church, today we're holding space for a lot of different things and a lot of different holidays in the same way that we are holding space for a lot of things in the world right now. We're holding the feelings, the weight of the pandemic. We're holding the new president. We are holding all of our thoughts about racial justice and political uprisings. We are holding space for so many things right now. It is a time in the world where we have to have big, strong arms to hold all of these things. And one of the things that can help us hold all of this is what we're celebrating today. It's love. And you might be thinking, the gushy romantic love. It doesn't have to be that. When we're talking about love, we're talking about the kind of love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love that is patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy. It's the love that protects and trusts and hopes and perseveres. It's the kind of love that never fails. It is the kind of love that all of us have been showing to one another for the past 11 months. All of us have gotten a master class in patience. We have to be patient. Things are changing. Things are going to be going towards the light. They're already changing for the better. We just have to be patient. The amount of kindness all of you have shown to one another and to your community and to the world, whether it's showing up for one another to make sure people know that Black Lives Matter, whether it is showing up and donating food and money and time to the food shelf, whether it's showing kindness by staying in your house and staying away from other people and stopping the spread of COVID. All of that kindness you have shown in the last 11 months. We can continue to show that love. When it says love protects, we know what that means. Protect other people. Wear your mask when you're outside. You are showing love by wearing a mask. You are showing love by trusting and listening to science, by listening to real facts and making sure when somebody says something, you're checking to see if it's actually true or just sounds true because someone said it. It's important to remember that we're showing love when we're showing hope. It can feel easy to feel like nothing is ever going to change, but we can show hope. We can keep showing up to make the world a better place, and that shows hope, and our hope gives other people hope. And love perseveres. All of us have been going through some hard times in the last 11 months. People have lost their jobs. Friends and family have not gotten to see each other. We know people who have gotten sick from COVID and have died. We all have loss and grieving. But we continue to move on. We continue to move forward. That is love. The perseverance, the kindness, the trust, the protection we show for one another. That is living love in action. And that is what all of you can do, not just today, but every day. So today we're lighting the peace candle, and our kids know that I always light a themed candle. This one is cherry Skittles scented, so it's kind of Valentine-y. So today we are lighting the peace candle for love in action.
Love is love. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice, "This is my child, the beloved. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one about what they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead.
Hello, friends. Let us pray together. God of connection, God of curiosity, God of abundance, open our ears, our minds, and our hearts to these sacred words. Amen. I wanted to write a sermon about change, about how change is hard, yet it is inevitable, about how we generally want things to change, but it's so difficult to change ourselves. And I was going to tell a lovely story about how much I have changed in the last 18 years, and yet my spouse Nora still loves me. She married a young guy with dark, thick, curly hair. She married an actor, and we plan to live a life together as theater artists. And yet now I stand here, and I'm a minister, and I have gray, thinning hair, and I rarely step on a stage. I jokingly asked Nora if she would still have married me if she had known how I would have changed. She always says yes, and then laughs. I love her laugh. No matter what changes in life, I hope that will never change. And then I was going to make light of the disciples' reaction to Jesus' transfiguration. Of course, they were terrified. Their friend changed before their very eyes. He was called the Son of Man by a voice from the heavens and was accompanied by 2 very dead, very important prophets. Of course they were terrified. How would you have reacted? And I was going to try to wrap all of this up together with this lovely little story by Anne Lamott, which is still too good to not at least share. She writes, "It turned out that this man worked for the Dalai Lama, and he said gently that they believe when a lot of things start going wrong all at once, it is to protect something big and lovely that is trying to get itself born. And that this something needs for you to be distracted so that it can be born as perfectly as possible." Wouldn't that have been nice? You could have learned a little bit about me. We could have done some biblical exegesis together and tied it up with a beautiful story about something lovely being born out of chaos and change. What a lovely sermon I could have written. I was excited about that sermon. But I couldn't piece it together. I moved paragraphs around, I rewrote it, I washed dishes, I did all of the things that usually help me put my thoughts together. But I was distracted. And I wish I could, but I can't blame this distraction on the pandemic fatigue or restlessness from being stuck inside in this deep freeze. I can't blame it on really long work days. Like a dog on a leash, I was wanting to go in one direction, but I was being pulled in another. And it was this passage from Mark. This transfiguration story kept tripping me up. It wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say. It keeps asking me to address something that makes me uncomfortable, and I want to avoid. It is asking me to confront its supernatural aspects, and I didn't really want to. This Transfiguration passage is central to the Christian story. It is found in similar form in 3 of the 4 Gospels and describes this mystical moment in which Jesus is revealed to be more than Jesus, to be more than the Jesus that his friends and followers thought he was. He is revealed to be special and shiny, the Son of Man and the inheritor of the prophetic mantle from Elijah and Moses. This story is magical, and I often try to avoid those. Maybe it works against my logical nature, and oftentimes I just don't know how to translate these old sacred stories into our modern conversations when there are these magical, supernatural aspects to them. I am drawn to the human Jesus, the prophet, the radical who teaches love. I am a follower of that Jesus who wasn't afraid to touch the sick or those that society marginalized. I lament the death of the man that the empire killed out of fear. I mourn the murder of this one who tells us to love God and the other as we must also be loving ourselves. I understand this somehow. I understand this Jesus, and while what God asks of us through him is difficult, I am more comfortable with that difficulty. I am uncomfortable with the supernaturality of the Transfiguration, which is exactly how the disciples must have felt. And I'm not suggesting that I think this story is literal, but I also just can't dismiss the possibility that something unexplainable and incredible happened to them. I have had experiences in my life that I can't easily give logic and reason to. I have witnessed and experienced things, unexplainable things. In high school, I saw something fly through the air with some friends that I still can't explain. I don't know why I didn't drown in the Mediterranean Sea, nor do I know who that guy was that saved me and then disappeared. I can't explain that voice that emerged in my head on that rainy day and gave me unexpected yet needed direction. I can't explain love. There is so much that I find unexplainable, so why do I want to dismiss this story so easily? Which again is how the disciples must have felt. They witnessed something unexplainable. They also understood and were drawn to the human Jesus. That's why they were traveling with him and teaching with him and following him. They were finding comfort even in the difficulty of his teachings. Yet all of a sudden, they were seeing something that changed everything. They were seeing something way beyond what they thought that they were being part of. And they were terrified, and rightly so. I kept getting caught by this one line of text before it says how terrified they were. Peter says, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." So Peter blurts out this offer to Jesus to make 3 dwellings. And this is before the text admits to us that Peter didn't know what to say, for they were terrified. Before he doesn't know what to say, because he is terrified, he offers to build Jesus and 2 dead prophets' houses. His first reaction is to help Jesus live on that mountain, this same Jesus to whom he had given up everything to follow. I am struck by this deep and loving kindness, this knee-jerk reaction of care and comfort. Before he did not know what to say because he was terrified, Peter offered housing. This unexplainable supernatural transfiguration, this disruption of everything that Peter thought he understood about Jesus, was met with loving kindness. What an amazing impulse. The disciples are often used as foils for Jesus in the Gospels. They're often depicted as not understanding or getting things wrong. But here we may see the true nature of these followers. They cared so much that the first reaction, even while terrified and not knowing what to say, was to provide a basic human need. He didn't ask for proof of need. He didn't wonder if this was all a trick. He didn't ask if the dead prophets deserved a home. Is that what I would have done? Would that have been my first reaction? Is that what you would have done? I wonder, though, if this is what we are called to do, who we are called to be. I wonder if a foundational calling for us all is to build houses, both literally and figuratively, to build houses for those who need it. We are called to practice the actions of our lives so that kindness is our default. It is our habit. It is our calling that even when presented with the unexplainable, we respond with generosity. It doesn't matter what the person's skin looks like, where they are from, who they love, or what gender they may or may not identify with. It does not matter what their addiction may be, what they call their God, how many years they have lived, or the worth that this commodification society has assigned them. It doesn't matter. We all deserve houses. We all deserve dwellings when we go through our big changes. And we are all called to provide these basic human needs when we witness these transformative changes. And it is not if these changes occur, but when. It does not matter whether these changes fit into our understanding or whether they seem implausible or unexplainable. We are called to build dwellings for each other so as to keep each other warm and safe and cared for. We don't have to understand it to be caring. We don't have to feel comfortable to be generous. We can be terrified and not know what to say and still give our gifts. This may be our foundational and habitual calling to build houses for the others that we would like them to build for us. So, how? How do we do this? And how is as individual as each of us are individual? So here's what I'm asking us all to try this week. First, give in to the wonder and awe of the unexplainable. I still don't think this story is literal, but it was only by giving in to the supernaturality of it that I was able to find some meaning. Give in to the mystery of the world around you and let it change you. Second, work or continue to work to have your initial impulse be one of kindness and care. Just this week. Start with this week. Start with just today. Build dwellings for all that are in transformation, all the transformation within and around you. Keep practicing that. And these may be difficult calls to action for this week, but I ask that you try to do so, even when you're feeling like a dog on a leash trying to go in a different direction. This week, may we all practice being like Peter and offer dwellings to those experiencing change. Go forth and try to live it.
Alleluia, 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 alleluia,
Join me, please, in the spirit of prayer. O divine source, on this day when hearts and flowers and chocolate are offered in celebration for the many kinds of love in our lives, we turn to you as the source from which love flows in abundance, made manifest in the way we express love to one another. And so this prayer is but a response to your ceaseless outpouring of love. When we awake to a new day, you invite us into a plethora of possibility. When sleepless nights and anxious moments distress us, you calm us through breath and ease our restless hearts. When difficult choices confound us, you guide us through experiential signs and wise discernment. You have loved us before we even turn to you, and even when we turn away from you. For this, our gratitude swells within us. So hear us now, O God, as we place before you the joys and concerns of our hearts. We place before you our lives, fragmented, tired, at times without much purpose or meaning. Sometimes we catch only glimpses of beauty and joy if we notice goodness at all. Teach us so we no longer depend on our doing and having for our worth. Save us from the worry that dominates our days. This pandemic has forced us to slow down, God, and in doing so, we observe that which we may want to ignore. May your love give us the courage to see things as they really are, so that we might be so emboldened to do the next right thing, free from fear and fueled with love. We place before you those we love, the hurting, the grieving, the struggling child, the frustrated parent, the fragile union. Teach us the sacrament of care, and may we approach others with daily acts of love. Develop in us a creativity for connectedness, venturing into efforts of relationship never before appreciated. Help us to celebrate milestones, birthdays, Valentine's Day, occasions of joy with gleeful abandon, so that our hearts can sing with all that is good in the world. We place before you our neighbors, local and global, those who live in fear, those who have no home, those for whom daily living is fraught with angst and grief. To honor the other is to honor you. So may we reach out rather than hold back. May our witness to our neighbors be one of kindness and welcome, a daily Valentine offering, and may our comfort zones be challenged in ways that forge learning and understanding. Keep us ever mindful of the plight of the poor and forgotten, the sacrifice of those weary and waiting, that their needs may take precedent over our own. We place before you our church, forging a creative vision, caring for the brokenhearted and lonely, being blessed by new ways to do ministry together, even while apart. Teach us the method of trust and fill us with your authority to love, care, and tell the story of faith. We place before you our world, broken and fighting, yearning for justice, suffering the loss of human rights, and drowning in self-serving greed. Teach us the path of boldness and courage, and transfigure us so as to be agents for peace, creating a world we can right now only imagine. Oh yes, ever-loving God, our prayer is but a response to your ceaseless outpouring of love. Keep our hearts and minds open, free us from cynicism so as to recognize the abundance of your presence and the bounty of your grace, and keep us focused not just this day, but every day, on the transforming power of love in our lives. Hear us now as we say together that which Jesus taught us. Tender, loving God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Go forth, friends, into your lives, into your communities, and into your days. And may you build dwellings for others with love, care, and kindness. Amen.